Hey, I'm J.R. Lay, and welcome to the Level Up Business Podcast. What if the real cost of success as an entrepreneur is the time that you can't get back? And what if the hardest part of selling your company, it's not the deal, it's who you become after the deal closes? To help answer these questions, I'd like to introduce you to Jerome Myers. Jerome is a founder himself and an exit advisor who built a $20 million division inside a Fortune 550 company. And he also led 4 private equity exits, including one at a 4x multiple. Jerome is here to help unpack the founder's exit paradox and why so many high achievers feel lost after the big win. But before we unpack Jerome's unique wisdom, are you a visionary entrepreneur who, like Jerome, has unique wisdom to share? And you can share that wisdom when you turn video content just like the one you're watching right now into a published book, so that you can elevate your brand and increase your influence. If this is you, this is what you want to do, send me a text, 832-240-1922, because I want to teach you. I want to show you how you can transform your past experience as an entrepreneur into IP that monetizes your unique wisdom. Now, let's get ready to learn, grow, and level up together with Jerome.
I am so happy you're here, Jerome. Before we get too deep into this conversation that I'm super interested in about exiting a business and how your perspective, it could be very traumatic. No one likes to talk about that side of an exit. Yeah. What is good in your world right now, personally and or professionally? It's your pick to get started on a positive note.
Yeah, 109 days off so far. Well, a little bit more than that, but at the mid-year point, it was 109 days off. Just like I like measuring stuff. So 156 workout rings closed, 23 speaking opportunities, 6 charitable donations, and 1 new board invitation. So that's the summary of all of the measurable things, tangible things that people think about, except for money, because I guess most people lead with that. But that's not the game, because I think money's pretty fungible. I think you know, it's a commodity. But the time is something that you can't get more of. And so we started optimizing on that after a buddy was in a room and he felt that he couldn't compete with the guys because he was running a mid like $100,000 a year business as a solo entrepreneur, and the people in the room were running 7- and 8-figure businesses. But he could talk to them about flexibility of his schedule. And I was like, ooh, most people don't actually treat time as the most valuable resource they have. And so why don't we start leading with that? And so, yeah, man, year's been phenomenal.
You're speaking on something that I want to pause on and perhaps unpack a little bit further, because it is a gift. Yeah. Time is a gift. Being present in the present moment is the best present that we can present to someone else. When it comes to time, and I've been thinking about this, and I don't know, is it a season that I'm in, but it's like, I've got 4 kids. Ooh. My oldest is 15. My youngest is 9. I've been an entrepreneur for 23 years. So I can't say I was always, to use the words of Chad Willerson, fully invested. I wasn't fully invested in those relationships early on.
With the little people.
I would say there's, and I don't know, there's probably, in doing a lot of therapy, having a lot of coaching over the years, it's been my own thing that I've had to work to grow in as a father, as a husband, to make more investments on the home front. But when it comes to time, why do we tend to over-index in one area of our life? And a lot of times in the entrepreneurial world, it is our business. What do you see? Why do you see entrepreneurs doing that? And everything else, health, relationships, because I look at, like, there's 5 dimensions of wealth. And you're right, there's this money side, but that's like, I had to get everything in a new order to where now I'm looking at spiritual health, wealth, well-being, mental, physical, relational, and then financial. But I was always over-indexing on the financial side, and everything else was put by the wayside. Why do we do that?
Oh, man. We're going straight to the bottom of the ocean.
Let's go.
Okay. So the American dream has put us in a place where, particularly as breadwinners, typically men, the thought is that you're only as valuable as much based on as much as you provide. And so if you look at previous generations, the role was to provide and protect. What I found to be true for many women was they felt like they had to protect the kids from the man that was in the house. And that model was broken. It failed. What we still have today is the allure of being wealthy and the perception of freedom. And we think the key to that is money. Because if that isn't true, if it is an illusion, then how do you get somebody to give up their nights, weekends, and miss the most important events of the people who are counting on them to show up for money? How do you get them to give that stuff up? You can't. And so media programs us to believe that that is the answer and everything is better as a result of money. When the fact of the matter is money is just the tool, no different than hammers or saws in a shed. And having more of it past the point of solving the problems that you need it to solve is waste. It's hoarding. And if you exchange time for that money, you inherently traded something that was infinitely valuable because you don't know how much of it or how long you're going to have it for something that is of much less value because you can pretty much go get it anywhere.
So your point of time being finite and we don't know how much we have, how long we have, that connects into my own personal motto, my own personal philosophy, which is memento mori.
You're going to die.
Yeah, remember your death. You're going to die. And these shifts have been happening in me probably ever so slowly since hitting rock bottom in 2012. I've told this, and you and I, this is the first time to connect, so I'll just give you some context. My wife, at that point, the business was a decade old, and we'd hit 7 figures multiple years in a row.
Congratulations.
I'm like, oh wow, it was freaking amazing. Yes. But the thing was, dude, I was a jerk.
Yeah. Normal.
And it's like all priorities were out of whack. And we ended up bringing an advisor in and he set us down a new path. He didn't give you the answer. He just gave you the path. And then it's obviously the decision to take. And so we restructured and we rebuilt now around a business that was, I would say, more at the time what we needed, first and foremost, as a family. And then it's within the last 6 months, that other business that we have, that is now taking a back seat as I've launched Level Up Business. But this time it's different. It's more of looking at what I've gained over the last 23 years as an entrepreneur, and also thinking about the context of time, being driven by memento mori. When you think about your own personal entrepreneurial journey, and it's like, I know you exited a $20 million division that you built inside a Fortune 550 company. You led 4 private equity exits, one with an acquisition of 4x multiple. And each time, it's like you expected some sort of relief. Like you got to the top of the mountain. You climbed the mountain, you got to the top of the mountain, and you expected to just like sit there. What happened to you in that entrepreneurial journey that you climbed a mountain and you climbed another mountain, but what happened?
Yeah, you step squarely into the founder's exit paradox, and you start to question who you are, who the people are around you, and if they should be there, or are they only there because of your ability to offer benefit. The 40 to 60 hours you were spending working regularly need something to fill it, but you don't know what that is. And because you didn't plan for it beforehand, you realize that you've gained weight and that some of the numbers aren't in the desired range, when you go have your physical, if you're wise enough to go do that, you question whether or not you deserve the prosperity that you received from the exit. You worry about running out of money and being poor again. And the biggest one is questioning whether or not your life matters. You want to be significant, but the title that you had was the thing that gave you the illusion of significance. But when you really dig in, you find out that you weren't actually significant. And at the highest level, it's my belief today that that thing is just there to buy your freedom so that you can actually become significant, build a real legacy.
How did you navigate some of those questions yourself going through this, what you called the founder's paradox? Because I think it's interesting. It's like I've been close to exiting a business that I founded twice now. And the first one, if we go back to 2012, we just could never come to terms. And I finally just put that thing to bed and said, you know what? It was a great business. It was profitable. It had run its course. Mm-hmm. You've gone through the exit a few times, and you've obviously that's what you're helping other entrepreneurs do now. But when you answered some of those questions yourself, it reminds me of some ancient wisdom where there is no vision or there is no purpose, people begin to perish.
1,000%.
How did you handle this yourself? This founder's paradox?
Initially, not well. I resented my ability to make money. It's part of the reason why I got a divorce, and I pushed it away.
Let me pause you on that. Can I pause you real fast? And this is just a very direct question because did you self-sabotage on this?
Oh yeah, it's collateral damage everywhere. Yeah, you blew it all up because if you don't know where you're going, you're going to hate where you end up every single time.
Looking around on my desk for the book. I've got a lot of books, but that point on self-sabotage, it's a book right here. It made me realize what the patterns and behaviors that I was going through as an entrepreneur. The mountain is you. You build it up, you burn it down just to build it back up again. Because I don't know, I don't know why.
You have to have a struggle. You have to have a mountain to climb. As the best way I've heard it described is entrepreneurs are like large breed dogs. And if you don't exercise them, they make mischief. They dig holes in flower beds. They bite bumpers on cars. They destroy the heels on shoes because they don't have anything to channel their energy into. So taking them out and throwing a ball and letting them run and get it, or playing tug of war or grabbing a stick or whatever the thing is, taking them for a long walk, you've got to exercise them. I don't really like the dog thing as much, but it was a pretty good description. What I prefer to compare them to...
I just connected with it personally. Like, I'm like, yeah, I can see that.
It's pretty good. My preference, though, is connecting them to a nuclear power plant. And so you've got that generator, that fusion inside, and it is just going, right? And you've got to take the energy out of the plant. You've got to offload it from the plant. And if you don't offload it from the plant, then it implodes. And that's the point. Founders have to have something to take the energy off. The thought that you go to do nothing and the whole goal is to get your payday so you can go sit on the beach is a fallacy. This goes back to this whole conversation around wanting money so that you can do nothing. The goal isn't to do nothing. The goal is to serve. That's the beginning and the end.
Serve and create and serve. I think you mentioned this point of, I want to come back to the dog analogy because I saw myself in there. Like when I get bored, it's like I need to go dig holes in flower beds. Yeah. When I get anxious, I need to go chase car bumpers. And you talked about you got to go take the dog out, work the dog, run the dog. I will tell you, and this is where like I see this juxtaposition between the physical, the mental, the spiritual, all intersecting. It's like you got to master your body to master your mind. Mm-hmm. It's like if I don't work out, if I'm not expending that sort of physical energy, I'm probably not going to have a very good day. Same thing. It's like master the mind, and there's a whole mind-spirit connection. What do you see? And I'll bring this up because you mentioned energy management. It's come up in this podcast and other conversations a lot from a spiritual standpoint. When it comes to entrepreneurs and energy management, what's your recommendation so that they don't dig holes in flower beds?
Yeah, so what we focus on as a firm is helping people figure out the problem that they want to eradicate from the face of the planet and the people who have it, because we believe that's purpose. And then giving them a strategy, including a mechanism to help them execute that eradication. What we find is that if you don't figure out what you're going to do next so that you can exit to instead of exiting from, you end up in a space that leaves you disappointed, frustrated, lost, upset. I could keep going, but the words only get worse from there.
There's a key frame or reframe that I just heard.
Yeah.
Exit to versus exit from. What's the difference between, because I also hear that the freedom to do something versus the freedom from something. Mm-hmm. What do you mean by exit to versus exit from?
It's just like I get to go to the recital. I get to go to the practice. So what we find when we're talking to founders is some people want to get away from the thing. I'm burnt out. I don't feel like dealing with the headaches anymore. I'm just tired. I want a break. And they're trying to get away from the prison that they built. Then there's the founder who's like, I've done a great job here. I've figured out how to make myself irrelevant in this business. And I'm just kind of showing up every day because that's what I'm supposed to do. I want something new to do. I want to go solve a new problem. I want to go climb a different mountain. Now, I might not know what that mountain is, but I know I want a new one. And so in that, there's opportunity for exploration. There's opportunity for excitement, growth, anticipation of a better future instead of being trapped in the past and just kind of dragging that along. The only thing that we really want from the past is for it to continue to pay us. Mm-hmm. We want the money from the work that we did in the past. Otherwise, what's it good for?
It's so interesting that you're bringing this up. And I don't know how these connections and conversations happen because I've got general ideas of where they're going to go, but they're not really pre-planned or pre-scripted. It's just I want to be present. You're talking about the past. On my action board this year, and I do an action board. It's not a vision board, but it's an action board. And it's like this is where I want to be in the next year, and visualize that. But instead of it being a vision, it's like, okay, am I continually taking action to these points, phrases, pictures, etc.? And one of the phrases that I wrote, your past is nothing more than the tuition you had to pay to level up. And so we want to extract that, but then it's like reframe that. It's like, so now it's like I'm operating from a future self. Have you read Be Your Future Self Now by any chance, Dr. Benjamin Hart?
I've read Ben, but not that.
Oh, yes. That's a great book. And he also has a new book coming out in a few weeks in August of 2025 as a recording, which I'm really looking forward to, about scaling 10x is easier than 2x. I think is like the next generation of that. But let's talk about the past for just a bit. When it comes to entrepreneurs and founders, how might they attach to the past their identity, their belief systems? And the reason I bring up the identity and beliefs, because how much belief drives behavior, and the intersection between that is belief, thoughts, emotions, feelings, actions, habits, etc. But when we think about the past and belief identity, perhaps connected to said firm that a founder founded, what are you seeing from attachments and perhaps even attachment styles?
Yeah.
To the past?
Your attachment style is going to directly impact the way that you separate from the company. It is the biggest indicator on whether or not you're going to avoid doing the necessary work in order to decouple your identity from the thing that's been part of your life for 15 to 50 years. Is going to determine if having that next thing started versus having it planned or ideated is going to be necessary for you to get what you need out of the experience. Because so many people, I believe, are trapped in this thought that I've always been, so I always will be, instead of living in that growth mindset that Carol Dweck talks about, and knowing that just because I was that or I did that doesn't mean that I have to continue. And especially when they find success, because success leads us to believe that if we don't have success immediately, or if we experiment or try something and it doesn't work, then we failed and we're a failure and everything else was a fluke. Like, it can unravel very quickly. And the attachment styles, if we go back to those,
what are they? What, because you might be watching or listening to this and you could be curious of what do you mean by attachment styles, Jerome? I'm speaking for someone who is watching and listening. What are we talking about here for further explanation?
Yeah, so you can have, there's 4 different types, and I won't go into all of them, but my favorite is secure, is the first one that I like to talk about. And so if you think about like a kid whose parent is getting ready to walk out the door, because we talked about kids already, right? If you think about a kid and their parent walks out the door, if they have a secure attachment style, the parent can hug the kid, tell them they'll be back, and the kid does not melt down, right? They know that, hey, they're leaving, they come back, it's a part of it, everything's going to be okay. There's a lot of people who don't have a secure attachment style. They have something that's kind of the opposite end of the spectrum, where it's doom, gloom, catastrophe anytime somebody moves, anytime something shifts, and they're always going to be trapped there. That becomes very dangerous for a founder. And often what you see with founders, because many of them have this style of attachment, is they over-index, they over-connect with the business. And so I can't not answer an email. I can't not work. I can't take time off.
Take days off. Yeah.
I always have to be there. I micromanage because I can't trust anybody to do the work. And
is it because their identity, as a founder has become so blended with the entity, the identity, the brand? I don't know how to give this words, but it's like you have the identity of the self, and then you have this entity, the business, the brand, and they're so enmeshed. And when you come back to those attachment styles, there you mentioned the 4: secure, anxious, avoidant, disorganized. How much of that attachment to the business could also be then directly related to the attachment style and the attachment theory of where they were as a child. You mentioned that the relationship, that environment. Is there a connection? Is there a correlation by any chance?
Yeah, because you carry it into every relationship. We even have a relationship with the business. Like, it is an entity, but it's a relationship. And so, we're excited about it when we're going to go see it. We have warm, fuzzy feelings about it when it's treating us well and sending us a lot of money. We have resentment about it when it's an alligator and we've got to feed it and all it gives us is poop, right? Like, there's a relationship between you and the business. There's a blending of the identity the longer that we're together and the more we believe that our contribution is the reason why the business is performing at whatever level it's performing. For most people, though, they aren't that talented. They aren't that gifted. They aren't actually the reason why the business is doing what it's doing. Some of it's external conditions. Some of it is other people on the team. And some of it is coincidence or luck. But as founders, especially if you've got that avoidant or, that avoidant attachment style, you're going to believe that it's all because of you.
Your point on attachment style, I've never really thought of. It's given me a new way of thinking about things, and honestly, just to put myself out there, as I navigate from the business that I founded and ran for 23 years to then starting up this new entity with Level Up Business, that I honestly have more energy around because it's being built around what Dan Sullivan, strategic coach, unique ability.
Yeah.
The other business I kind of fell into, stumbled into, and it's just kind of what I always did. It's what I always knew. But it was funny too, because I think about my wife. I started that business to impress a girl that told me my punk rock band sucked.
Oh, no.
Because she came from an entrepreneurial family. And we ended up getting married, having a couple kids. She's part of that narrative of 2012. We had 2 kids at the time, and she was on the brink of leaving me with the kids. And then we made it through. We had 2 more kids. But things never felt good with the business. There was always some conflict around the business, even though the business was, and it's like your point to start this conversation, like, yes, I'm the provider. Yeah. It's like I had this frame, but I never felt like I had her full support. Yeah. And there's a lot of reasons that we've talked about. So now as we've launched Level Up Business, she's all in on this thing. She's excited. The kids are excited and energized about this thing. Even like when I'm coming home, they're like, so what'd you do today, Dad? Like, it's a whole different shift, but it's something that as you're talking about these identity and attachment styles, I'm thinking about navigating as I'm transitioning here. There's something else though. You mentioned the word success. And I know a framework you speak to is the 5 scars of success.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who are watching and listening to this, they've experienced some sort of success, but what are the scars of success that they might not be aware of that we could bring to light?
Yeah, nobody wants to talk about this stuff, man. I can't believe you're asking me this question on the podcast. They're going to cut it off if we have this conversation. But we'll do it because we've got extra time. I feel like we're going long on your episodes, which makes me happy because it's my goal to take up as much of your time as possible, JR. So with that said,
well, it's our most precious resource, and I just want to shout out to those watching and listening. Thank you for investing time. I look at time as investment. Thank you for investing your time, for paying with your attention, for spending your energy with us, because we hope we're able to give you a multiplier of return so that you continue to level up as an entrepreneur.
They're either going to love us or hate us after this episode. I'm okay with both as long as their eyes are open. But with that said, in all seriousness, so what we found is our apex performers that show up for us, they have 5 scars that drive their connection with the business. The first one is conditional love. Think about this as achievement as a prerequisite for approval and acceptance or love. This is the kid who is on the team, and they only get told that they're proud of them if they hit a home run or they score a touchdown. This is the kid that brings home a report card, and if it's not straight A's, they're shunned by their parents. That shows up in the business as perfection, going above and beyond, over delivering, and many times trying to control things if they're not going to go the way you hope that they would go at the beginning of the engagement. The next one, and to be clear, I've suffered from all 5 of these in addition to whatever our clients have came to. So the next one is suicidal ideation. And so they're like, would the world be better if I'm not here? And sometimes they even think through, well, how would I do that? The fact of the matter is their connection to the pressure to perform typically is so intense that they go into despair. What if I don't find the answer? What if it doesn't work out? And they work so hard to get the outcome. For me, as an example, I had a buddy who in the 8th grade was playing Russian roulette and lost. And we were supposed to be together the day that happened at a football game. And so I carried with me for a very long time that if I had called him, like I said I would, then that wouldn't have happened. Mm-hmm. So now when I give my word to somebody, I often overcommit on that. It's the despair turning into drive and over delivering and probably being unreasonable in the indexing. The third one is financial ruin. So if you've ever been rich and lost it, you know what that feels like. I call it financial trauma. Many people have to lose their fortune 2 or 3 times, they say, in order to really understand, one, that it's not the end of the world if you lose your money. I think, 2, the management of it, because you always build it bigger each time that you come back from the loss. But you've got to experience that so that your vessel is ready to handle what you've been building for if you're going to have a 8, 9, or 10-figure exit. The fourth one is near-death experience, typically when they're younger. And this is the thing that creates a sense of urgency. They feel like they're living on borrowed time. They feel like they got a second chance. And so they're working at a rate that seems unreasonable to many people. Other ways I've heard it described is I've got to earn my breath because I'm not sure that I was supposed to be here. And then the last one is loss of a loved one early on in life. And this is, as I use the example with Jerome and losing him in the 8th grade, this is you understanding that life is finite and that your departure from this place may not be on your terms. And so your ability to make the mark has to happen now because you don't know when it's going to be over.
You're speaking to every one of those points, and it's like, I've lived them too.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're an apex performer.
And I feel a little bit of like a emotion here because it's like this whole thing with Level Up Business. I thought about the idea, like it came into my mind from nowhere. I was in Strategic Coach. I was in a workshop. I was writing it through, and it's just like, boom, it was there. I modeled it out. I didn't have the courage to commit, to do the thing, because I was so complacent and had grown complacent unknowingly, subconsciously, to my other business. Mm-hmm. But that other business was slowly sucking literally the life out of me, which is where the whole point of the Memento Mori motto came back into play, because it's like, I do realize everything is finite. Mm-hmm. I do want to leave a mark, but I don't want to leave the mark. I want to help elevate. I want to help level up others by turning their wisdom into assets that help I mean, it's a rising tide lifts all ships. And your point of financial run, it's like, I think about my past as an entrepreneur. It's like I've made millions and I've lost millions. And a lot of it was because of stupid decisions that were probably some sort of external affirmation seeking activity, validation. So your points are so well taken, so well articulated, and I'm so grateful for you just bringing things to light, because as you mentioned, we often don't want to talk about these things, but it's the things that we don't want to talk about we probably need to talk about even more than we've ever talked about them before, to then reach the next level of growth. So thank you for sharing. As we do wrap up here, if someone has connected and resonated with the perspectives that you've brought, what's the best way for them to reach out and say hello to you, Jerome?
So if there's business owners out there, I'd love to give them this opportunity. I feel like there's going to be some out there. We've created an exit readiness assessment. And it doesn't matter if you plan on exiting this year or 10 years from now, knowing how exit ready you are is good business. And so if they want, they can get an opportunity to take that for free for listening to the episode. They go to exittoexcellence.com/ERA for exit readiness assessment. They can hop on, spend 10 minutes answering some questions. I think it's like 25 questions, and they'll get a report that says, here's where your readiness is. Here's what you need to do to get more ready. And whether they do something with it or not, at least they're aware of the things that would hold them back from getting the valuation. What we often talk about is there's only 3 ways out of a business. We always hear about the liquidity event, right? That's selling it. But most people close it or they give it away. And if you work for 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, only to get the money out of it that it paid you along the journey, I think you miss a real opportunity. Because in concept, if it lasts that long, because you think about it, only 1 in 10 businesses make it 10 years. Mm-hmm. You're already an anomaly, right? But to build something with transferable value just takes you to a different level. So it'd be great for you to know what you need to do in order to be able to be one of those folks that are able to exit to excellence. And so, but if they don't want to do their exit readiness assessment, how we met, I think, is great. And just meet me on LinkedIn. We're there every day. And it's actually me responding to comments and making comments. We don't delegate that. And yeah, man, just have an opportunity to connect and share.
It's your authentic intelligence. I mean, the world is full of artificial intelligence now, but it's the authentic intelligence that I'm more interested in connecting with, because it's that unique wisdom, the unique perspective, the unique methods that you've shared to help others level up. So Jerome, definitely, if you're watching, listening, connect with them, learn with them, take the readiness assessment. What's that website again?
exittoexcellence.com/ERA.
Go take it now. That's your action. Every one of these conversations has to end with some sort of action that you can take to continue to level up on your journey of growth. Thanks, Jerome.
Thank you.
Thank you again for tuning in to learn, to grow, to level up together with Jerome's unique wisdom. Are you a visionary entrepreneur who wants to turn video content like the one that you're watching right now into a published book so that you can elevate your brand and increase your influence? If this is you, send me a text right now, 832-240-1922. That's because I want to teach you. I want to show you how you can transform your past experience as an entrepreneur into IP that monetizes your unique wisdom.